Live on 3news.com. Download the TuneIn app from the Google Play, Apple iOS Store, and listen to us on the go. Coming up this afternoon, with barely 24 hours to the NPP's special delegates conference, some members are predicting a difficulty for the party leadership in policing the no campaign rule tomorrow.
How would you say that there should be no campaigning? How are you going to police that?
For the party, though, all is set for tomorrow's first ever exercise of such a nature.
Then so we are set. As we speak, all the ballot papers have reached the regional secretariat of the EC.
Also this afternoon, former Communications Minister Dr. Amane Boama replaces Elvis Ifriyankra as NDC's Director of Elections in a major shake-up by the opposition party. We hear from the former Director of Legal Affairs, Abraham Amaleba, who now heads Conflict Resolution Committee, and much later as NATMO and farmers shift blame for the massive devastation of farmlands in the Upper East region following the spillage of the Bahre Dam. The General Agricultural Workers Union is alarmed by the failure of successive governments to deal with the perennial flooding. This afternoon, we explore food security implications after the latest destruction of farmlands in Talensi.
If they had told us earlier, probably would have tried to salvage something small. Look at what is happening. What am I going to get? Look at the amount of money we pumped. It's really devastating, my brother. Very, very devastating.
We have details of these stories, a lot more, if you stay with us for the next 30 minutes. A pleasure that you could be a part of this afternoon's bulletin. It's streaming live on Facebook. Our handles 3FM 927. Same handles on Twitter as well, 3FM 927. I am Eric Mawuena. Egbeta was starting from the camp of politics and the governing New Patriotic Party because they say all is set for its first ever superdelegates conference scheduled across all 16 regions of the country tomorrow. The exercise is the first step in what is now an elaborate process in electing a flag bearer for the party for the next general elections. Per the party's constitution, it will hold a superdelegate conference when more than 5 persons put themselves up to be elected for the position. Speaking to 3FM, Director of Elections and member of the Elections Committee, Evans Nimako, said all materials have safely arrived in all the regions ahead of the exercise.
The New Patriotic Party put together the OK's committee to be in charge of the conduct of the presidential elections. Part of the process is the conduct of this special electoral college. God's willing, by Saturday, the delegates will meet in all the regional voting centers as well as the party headquarters. We are ready. We've put in charge, in terms of security, the National Police Service. In terms of the conduct of the exercise is the Electoral Commission. The committee has reached this decision and this position because we've had very constructive, consultative engagement with the aspirants and their agents, with the Electoral Commission, as well as the Ghana Police Service. We expect that on Saturday, our delegates will do the needful, will comply with the security arrangement put in place, cast their votes at the various centers, and return to their respective areas. And then when it is 1 o'clock, the EC will do the honor of opening the ballot, sorting, counting, and then recording to all the candidates the figures that they would have gotten. The EC will do the overall collation at their headquarters and then come finally to the party office to do what we call the declaration of the first 5 presidential candidates. And so we are set. As we speak, all the ballot papers have reached the regional secretariat of the EC as well as the registers. Aspirants have been given the final voter register. We just finished engagement with them, and so everything is set for the party to conduct this special electoral college.
So that's Evans Nimako, who is the Director of Elections and member of the Elections Committee of the party. Well, ahead of that process tomorrow, the party has as well introduced a number of protocols which include a zero tolerance for vote buying, open display of ballots and campaigning on the day of election. While reacting to the development, member of the Bawumia campaign and former MP Fusheni Issa said the party will struggle to deal with the no campaign portion of its protocols.
I think it's appropriate for the party to say that the ballot has to be secret, and that we've all agreed to it. So I don't see why somebody should vote and have to go out there with their ballot and show it to the world. For us to maintain the secrecy of the ballot, nobody should have the right to be able to take their ballot out there. I think the party in its guidelines came out to say that nobody will be allowed to take a mobile phone in there. And so I don't see, if you don't take a mobile phone in there, how can you actually have a snapshot of the ballot? I really can't see how that is feasible. The danger also is that the party should be careful not to bring out guidelines that it cannot police or insist on. It's a danger to the whole process. How would you say that there should be no campaigning? How are you going to police that? How are you going to ensure that it doesn't happen? That is a danger, and then we should move away from it.
Former Okankwe North MP Fusheni Issa speaking there. Let's take you to the Ashanti region as we continue to build up to the exercise here on your election command center. William Evans Inkum is our bureau chief there. He's at the venue for the elections in the Ashanti region and joins us for a conversation. Evans, talk to us about preparations there. The region has the highest number of delegates and the stronghold of the NPP as well.
Well, Mawuena, I can tell you that everything is set. Faculty of Law, that is what we have been told, will host tomorrow's special delegate conference. So here we are talking about 119 delegates. Of course, they are coming from the National Council, Founding Fathers, 43 MPs, 47 constituency chairmen, forming the 119 to cast their vote here at the Faculty of Law, KNUST.
Talk to us about the build-up to this exercise. What has been the conversations like? Has it been a topic of discussion on the radio the various local radio stations in the region for the stronghold of the party?
Well, absolutely. I mean, you cannot have a program today without talking about the MPP delegate Congress. And of course, the process of especially the two leading candidates, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and, of course, Alan Kojo-Kyerematen, have been talking tough. In the camp of Alan Kojo-Kyerematen, they don't attach a lot of importance to this particular for is the real deal, and that is where they are focusing on. For Dr. Bawumia, they think this exercise as a major boost to November 4. So they are, attaching all importance to it.
Right then, Evans Inkum, our bureau chief in the Ashanti region, the touching base there for us with the conversations and the talk on town ahead of tomorrow's exercise. Remember that we're live here on your election command center with all of the details from before the election starts at 9 a.m. to when the polls were expected to close at 1 p.m. all throughout the sorting and counting stage. We here at your election command center will be providing you up-to-the-minute speed details. Professor Smart Sapong will join us on the telephone lines shortly for a bit more on this, particularly on the guidelines of the governing New Patriotic Party as has been announced, and the expectation really, particularly also in relation to the concern that you cannot police really the no campaign aspect of your protocols, and so it's better if we don't issue such directives if we cannot really superintend over it. And he'll join us on the phone shortly for us to have a conversation on this. But you're listening to the news here on 3FM 92.7, and the big conversation really has been the Super Delegates Conference, or what others have described as Special Delegate Conference of the governing New Patriotic Party, an exercise which will seek to reduce the numbers at 10 individuals who put themselves up seeking to want to lead the NPP as its next flag bearer. They will have to, that number will be reduced from the 10 to a possible 5. Now, amongst the many things which has been said as well by the Director of Elections of the governing New Patriotic Party, is that should there be a tie during the process tomorrow, September 2 will be the day where they can decide, because they are looking for the number 5 to go ahead to November 4. Professor Smart Sapon, I beg your pardon, has joined us on the telephone line. He's a political analyst and researcher with the Kumasi Technical University. Let's just pick his thoughts as well ahead of the exercise. Prof, many thanks for speaking to us. First off, your thoughts on the guidelines or protocols that has been outlined by the party, particularly no campaigning, you can't display your ballot papers, don't take phones to the inner perimeter election area and the like, seeking to really clamp down on vote buying.
Yes, good afternoon to you, my brother, and good afternoon to Achari's listeners. I think it's a step in the right direction. One would say perhaps these were elderly, matured people, and so rules were not needed to keep them disciplined. But I mean, I differ. Rules to curtail or irrespective of their age or level of maturity. So, yes, it's in order. We've had instances where voting and you see pictures of where they voted for. So, to avoid anything of that sort, the rules have been put in.
Prof, we're having just a bit of a difficulty in hearing you because of. Yes, it's better now.
Okay, sorry about that. What I was saying was that for me, the rules were necessary, irrespective of their level of maturity or stature in the party. Without the rules, you will be surprised at some of the outcomes that you would see later in the media, in the news, people taking pictures of where they voted for and all those things. I don't know why people are tempted to do that. Maybe for whatever reasons best known to them. But I mean, these rules are necessary irrespective of the age and level of stature of these guys in politics to help manage some of these things so that the sanctity of the election can be preserved.
On the bit of annulling ballots that are openly displayed, described as bold and the likes, but do you expect this to work?
If accidentally your ballot falls, or for whatever event that can be described as accidental, it causes your ballot to be open. That, I'm sure, the circumstances will determine. But if there is any instance where somebody is seen clearly or deliberately trying to expose the direction of his vote, I think it is also in the interest of the party to get it annulled and get that person perhaps punished. Some of these things are beginning of danger. If it is not curtailed today, before you realize it is breeding a lot of serious division or chaos in the party. Let's use this opportunity to advise these delegates who have been described as super delegates. Please demonstrate some level of maturity in the way you exercise your vote. Nobody wants to see who you voted for. Nobody, I'm sure, is interested. Just go cast your vote. Eventually, the Electoral Commission will count them. And we'll know the side that carried the day in that order up to the fifth person.
Right.
So, yes, we personally, if they want to show it to us, we don't need it. If they want to use that to convince their side that, oh, see, I voted for you, you can trust me, it's unnecessary. Between God and yourself, just go and vote for the person you have assured to vote for, and let decency prevail.
Right then, Prof, I appreciate that you could speak to us this afternoon.
Most welcome, Mawuena.
That's Professor Smart Sapon speaking to us this afternoon here on the News 3FM 927, your election command center. And it is a reminder and a notice and an invitation to you to stick with us here from 7 a.m. tomorrow, where we'll begin coverage of the special delegate conference of the governing New Patriotic Party. All throughout the day, when everything breaks, we'll be here to provide details for you as to exactly what it is that transpires. But while the governing New Patriotic Party is ready in itself to trim down their numbers towards selecting a flag bearer, the The opposite numbers, that's the largest opposition party, has been undertaking a major shake-up in terms of appointments to its leadership. My colleague Duke Mensa Opoku, he's joining me in studio with a bit more details as to exactly what it is that the NDC has been doing. Duke, massive shake-up, changes in director of elections and the likes. You have the details. Talk to us about it.
Yes, we know that a couple of months ago, the NDC conducted its election and elected national chairman. The elective positions were actually taken care of in that election. Right. Now, as a consequence to that, the new executives have decided to make these key appointments into key positions as the party readies itself for the 2024 general elections. Okay. So what are the key appointments? The vice chairman, vice chairman, we have Professor Joshua Alabi, we have Dr. Samuel Sapon and Abdul Raul Khalid. Right. Now, National Treasurer Alex Treme, who happens to be a former Deputy Minister for Education. Deputy is Thomas A.C. Kuma. Next appointments, there is Molly Enim Ado. There is Margaret Ansei Mago, who contested for the women's organizer position. There is Godfred Kwesi Bimbi, George Kwesi Bimbi, Godfred Apasina Wumbe, Alhaji Yaya Kundo, and Ransford Chatman Vani Amwa. And now, more directors, we have Emmanuel Zumakwe, who's going to be Director of Administration. Director of International Relations doesn't change. The Honorable Percival Alex Segbefia is still in that role. That's a role he's handled for quite some time. He'll be assisted by Dr. Karl Mark Ahin and Mamia Fua Sechi Edu. Now, Director of Communications, no change. Kakari Samoa will still be there. And then Obobia Pokwa Dako has been brought into that role. Director of Elections, interesting one. One of the big ones, actually. It used to be Efriye Ankra. Yes, Efriye Ankra. We know he contested for General Secretary. It didn't go too well. Yeah, and he's been replaced by Dr. Edward Omani-Buama, who was Communications Minister under Mahama, trained medical doctor, but he seems to be well versed in politics and communications, IT side as well. So he's the Director of Elections and IT. It's been put together. You have, to assist him, Madi Jibril and Dr. Rashid Tanku Computer. Now, the deputy, so these are for the election side. On the side for the deputies, IT, there is George Atta Boating and then Wisdom Yaira Deku. Another big one, Director Legal, Godwin Kujo Tamaklu, popularly known as Eduji. Yes, so it's taken up that role. Long-standing member of the legal committee, one of the young upstarts. I mean, legally in terms of that in the party, he's taking that role and will be assisted by old guards such as Baba Jamal, former MP for Akwitia, and George Lowe, himself former MP for North, vice chairman of the Parliamentary Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs when he was in Parliament. He's going to be deputizing Eduji. Director of Research, interesting in Professor Francis Dodu. We know him as a lecturer at the University of Ghana. He's also dabbled in sports a lot, rising all the way to athletics and then the Olympic Committee level. He's going to be Director of Research for the NDC. He's going to be deputized by Dr. Justice Moses Aheto. He's a biostatistician at the University of Ghana as well. School of Public Health. And then there is Prosper Hoetu. And then Director Special Duties, Vincent Kouagbenu, formerly of the NSS. He's going to be there. Deputy Caesar Kali, Roger Jemfi, who also suffered an ill-fated attempt to be the youth organizer. And then there is Mohammed Atta Nantongma. Director of Conflict Resolution, the big one, Abraham Amaliba. He was the butt of jokes yesterday on social media, some indicating that he had been demoted, but he says rather he sees it as an elevation. So he used to be Director Legal, but now he's the Director of Conflict Resolution. Is going to be assisted by Daniel Amate. And the new one, Director of Interparty and CSO Relations, Dr. Peter Boama Otukono, another ill-fated aspirant in the General Secretary. To become General Secretary. So Dr. long-standing Deputy General Secretary. It looks like the party has found a way to make use of his talents, actually. And so he is going to be the Director of Interparty and CSO Relations, Dr. Peter Boama Otokono, and deputized by Mary Awusah. Director Welfare, another new role, Vida Ade, deputized by William Atamuji. Director Logistics Protocol, Ludwig Kloger, that was the former youth organizer of the party, and deputized by Mohammed Kweku Doku and Amanda Oche. And the rector of the party school is Dr. William Haji, formerly of the NI. So these are the changes. You have people coming, going out, others also coming in.
Right. Many thanks, Stu. Let's just hear from Ibrahim Amalaba, who's been speaking to the appointment and the reasoning behind the party's decision.
The party is growing, and the party is a living organism. And so these new appointments, new directorship have been created. It's in response to the growing nature of the party and the fact that the party has to respond to that growing nature that it is assuming. The new appointments are also bringing in some dynamism. There have been some changes as well. We think that as a party, we should have a mechanism where members don't end up in court. There must be an alternative dispute resolution mechanism. And we need to train our officers to do ADR, which will minimize some of the conflicts and minimize some of the acrimonies that happens within the party. In the areas that we didn't have directorship, those areas were areas that bordered the party. So you are now putting in place somebody who will focus on those areas and deal with them. So it is to the good of the party that these new positions have been created.
That's Abraham Amala, but let's just hear from him again, speaking this time on a different subject matter. Has to do with the party's members of parliament who are planning to occupy the Bank of Ghana. He says that the NDC is in full support of the action of the MPs.
The governor of the Bank of Ghana has demonstrated that it's a willing tool that is used by this government to ensure recklessness in our financial sector. Indeed, one possibility to alert the government by telling the government that the road or the path that we are taking will lead us to a crash. The governor failed to do that. When you look at the laws of the Bank of Ghana Act, it clearly indicates that you cannot lend or you cannot give out a loan beyond 5% of the previous year's.
That's Abraham Amala, but let's move away from this to other pressing matters. But you're listening to the news on 3FM 92.7. And the General Agricultural Workers Union of the Trades Union Congress, they've expressed concerns about the failure of successive governments to deal with the perennial flooding resulting from the Bahre Dam spillage. Their disquiet follows the destruction of several farmlands in the talented district of the Upper East region after the opening of the dam by the Burkinabe authorities. The spillage, which began on August 15, has submerged large tracts of maize farms and other cash crops. With increasing rainfall in that part of the country and the water levels expected to rise, authorities fear more farms could be destroyed with the associated food security concern. We'll hear from some of the farmers and NATMO really who have been seeking to absolve themselves of any blame. But thankfully, Edward Karres, the General Secretary of GAO, has joined us on the telephone line for a conversation. Many thanks, Mr. Karres, for speaking to us this afternoon. And so it's almost become something that you, for instance, could say almost tired of, because year in, year out, farmers get to suffer the brunt, which result in food challenges up north. Exactly what really could be the problem? There's the expectation of a multi-purpose dam to be created, but it appears that has not taken the needed attention of the government just as yet.
Well, let me say good afternoon to you and then to those who are listening to us. I think we should all be tired of talking about this, but we can't be tired because there's pain that goes with it. And the pain that we experience with this flood comes perennially. And the only thing we can say is that we have the government which will know the problem that refuses to solve the problem. In fact, we are not engineers, but we believe that if government had pursued the construction of the Pologo Dam, it would have gone a long way to be able to absorb some of this water and then minimize the flooding. You know, as a country, we're just so pathetic that we sit down, we allow water to go to waste, and then thereafter, we ask ourselves and we say that we are building dams that cannot even take water. If you look at the One Village, One Dam, and it's just like we leave the people to their fate. No one comes to their aid. Every year, NADMO will come in that they are trying to rescue them. They are trying to advise them. You know, uses of advice is not action. In fact, the challenge that we are facing is not a challenge for the individual. The farmers are not reckless. That is why their farms are flooded. The farmers are not negligent. That's why their farms are flooded. It's just that the country, the state, is reckless, negligent. You know, that is why it does not protect its people, you know, from flooding. It does not protect them from losing their livelihoods. Because after these floods, these people are already among the most vulnerable people in the country because they are food crops farmers. Yet, we are not ready, even after they are crying. After we know the realities on the ground, after everybody sees it, we are not ready to come to their aid. You know, it is so much heartbreaking. And I just wonder when or what would government like to see again for its attention to be drawn to the problem and to act on the problem.
Just briefly, perhaps in 15 seconds, this would mean there could be challenges to food security in the country in the coming weeks.
Look, it's going to exacerbate our already precarious food situation. Look, we are already food insecure without even challenges. And then this food insecurity has been aggravated by even the problems within the Sahel countries, Mali, Burkina Faso, and so on. And this has come on. And look, let us also remember that this is just from the Bagri Dam. There is also the perennial rainfall which floods the northern part of the country. So our problem is just going to be exacerbated, and our food insecurity is going to get worse.
Caro, many thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you, sir.
That's Edward Caro, is the General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union, speaking to us. Well, from one expected solution from government to another, this time the One District, One Factory, one of the many initiatives expected to help propel the Ghanaian economy to such great standing. And 6 years on, the policy, which was launched with a sword curtain for a juice factory in the central region, continues to come under some scrutiny. My colleague Duke Menso-Poku has the rest of the story.
I'm here to cut the sword for the construction of the Ekumfi Fruits and Juices Company Limited, first factory to be established under the One District, One Factory initiative. This is in fulfillment of the pledge I made to the people of Ekumfi on Tuesday, the 1st of November, 2016. As you have heard from earlier speakers, this project has been well planned and well thought out through, with the raw materials needed for the successful implementation of this project already present.
President Akufo-Addo brimmed with optimism at the launch of the policy in 2017. Years down the line, official statistics indicate that 104 factories are operational, 24 are at the inception stage, and 150 are under construction. In all, 224 feasible business plans have been approved. The Greater Accra region has the highest number of projects, 80 factories, and the Northeast region has the least with 3 projects. Deputy Ranking Member of the Trade and Industry Committee in Parliament, Yusuf Suleimana, provides an assessment of the policy.
What I have seen so far is supporting existing companies more than new ones. And that is why if you go to the districts, because the concept is that each district will be given one factory.
You see, Suleimana, there ending that report by Duke Mensah-Opoku. The extended version will be on in subsequent bulletins. That's it for this afternoon's edition of the news here on 3FM 92.7. As always, a lot more news on 3news.com. But an invitation for you to join us tomorrow at 7 a.m. as we kickstart the coverage of the Super Delegate Conference of the governing New Patriotic Party. We are your election command center and trust us to bring you unparalleled coverage. Bismark is here, ready and waiting with the very latest from the world of business. I am Eric Mawuena Egbeta.
This is Business Daily. Good afternoon and welcome to the program. Coming up, Ghana Revenue Authority moves to bring tax evaders in 9 markets to light with planned enforcement. And Bank of Ghana cautions stakeholders within the fintech space against harvesting customers' data for malicious purposes. I am Bismark. Awusah will bring you details of our headlines and many other stories shortly. Thanks for staying. Now to our very first story. The Ghana Revenue Authority has hinted at plans to uncover tax evasion in 9 markets. This exercise will be carried out by the authority's preventive and enforcement unit in collaboration with the police. Addressing the media, Assistant Commissioner in charge of enforcement at Accra Central, Joseph Annan, said a comprehensive audit will be done on all forms of businesses that will be caught in the 9th for failing to honor any of their tax obligations.
What is happening is that we are doing compliance checks on them. There's a slightly different one. For what we are doing now, it has much more to do with VAT and the tax laws that governs VAT. Although now we are going to go back to our offices, go into our system and look at other tax types, what these taxpayers are doing. Because once VAT is suffering, obviously, it's to be expected that they will not be treating the other tax types right. But for the night, what is happening is that we are doing compliance checks on them. There's a slightly different one. For what we are doing now, it has much more to do with VAT and the tax laws that governs VAT. Although now we are going to go back to our offices, go into our system, and look at other tax types, what these taxpayers are doing. Because once VAT is suffering, obviously...
And that was Assistant Commissioner in charge of enforcement at Accra Central of the GRA, Joseph Annan. Now, ahead of FinTech and innovations at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opon has cautioned stakeholders within the FinTech space against harvesting customers' data for malicious purposes. Addressing stakeholders at the MTN mobile money season, he stressed the importance of customer data to business operations.
The issue of data privacy and protection. Data is the new oil, as they say, but data is our identity as well. Without knowing your names, there's so much that so many technology providers can say about you, sometimes even in breach of your privacy. It is important that as we do this, we also ensure that we are not violating our consumers' privacy, abusing their data. And you saw recently action that was taken in collaboration between the Bank of Ghana, IOCO, and the Cybersecurity Authority to intervene where some illicit actors in the space with last name in their heart were engaged in the form of illegal lenders. It wasn't just about loans. It was also about harvesting your data and using it for malicious purposes.
Head of FinTech and Innovations at the Bank of Ghana, Kwame Opon there. Now, experts have called for critical policy analysis to better inform decision-making in the country, especially as the country experiences multiple challenges. At the release of the 2019 Social Accounting Matrix, they observed the matrix helps to analyze the effects of policy before implementation.
The social accounting matrix represents flows of all economic transactions that take place within an economy. The International Food Policy Research Institute co-hosted the release of the social accounting matrix for Ghana under the Nexus project in partnership with the Ghana Statistical Service and the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research. Senior Research Officer at the International Food Policy Research Institute, Seth Asante, spoke on the economic significance of the social accounting matrix.
Provide a standard platform for policy analysis. It helps economists or any analysts, academia, policymakers to kind of understand the structure of the economy. And this helps in terms of prioritizing policy implementation.
Senior Research Fellow at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Dr. Andrew J. Holmes, noted the matrix helps to analyze the effects of policies before implementation.
We can analyze the impact on specific households within the economy, and that is useful. So if I'm in the chair of the finance minister today and I want to make any changes to our tax schedule, the sum could be a tool to tell the impact that it will have on, let's say, young people who live in the rural area.
This is still Business Daily with me, Bismark, Awusah. Now to our special Friday feature. Sunflower is a valuable crop with prospects in the country. With government support, the country can become a major producer and exporter of the oil and other byproducts. 3 Businesses Shadrach Isrifi in this special feature explores the various economic benefits available to Ghana from sunflower cultivation.
About 50 million metric tons of sunflower seeds are produced annually all over the world, with Russia and Ukraine contributing about 70%. With Russia's war on Ukraine, sunflower production has reduced drastically, pushing prices up. In 2018, Ghana imported over 5 million metric tons of sunflower oil, worth over $4 million for both domestic and industrial purposes. The major industrial consumers of sunflower oil in Ghana are the camfish processing and oil paint manufacturing companies.
Sunflower business in Ghana is over 152 million US dollars. The import of the oil is about $4 million per annum. And then the export of sunflower products for foreign exchange is about 147 million US dollars. And all these products, every single drop of them is imported. So there's a need for us to look at import substitution.
In 2017, Ghana exported $149 million worth of canned fish in sunflower oil. According to Trade Remarks, Ghana has the potential to cultivate over 4,000 hectares of sunflower grains. This would produce over 5 million metric tons of sunflower oil worth over $4 million annually.
The demand for sunflower oil has shot up. Ukraine and Russia used to produce more than 59% of the global sunflower oil and cake. And now the growth has come entirely low. It's also in response to climate change, to mitigate the climate change issue that we are facing now.
In addition to oil, sunflower cultivation would also create over 6,000 direct and indirect jobs. It would also produce honey for export, biodiesel for energy, and glycerol for cosmetic and pharmaceutical industries.
And we are urging farmers to take it up seriously so that we will get a lot more of sunflower plantations in Ghana and in commercial quantities so that the consumers can also have good nutritional foods.
Sunflower is a golden opportunity for Ghana. It has the potential to boost the economy, create jobs, and reduce reliance on imported oil.
Sunflower is a grassland crop, which means that it grows in the savanna regions. And we have the coastal and then the Sahel savanna in the north. Now, we have large tracts of land in the north. So the land is not a problem. Secondly, also, looking at the agroclimatic condition of Ghana, it is suitable for the crop production. As you can see here, this is a living example. If it will not do well, we won't find this one here.
With government support, Ghana can become a major producer and exporter of sunflower oil.
I believe that if government can support the farmers in this area, I think the money will be in our nation, and then people will get their work to do. And I think it will help the nation too.
Shadrach Esrifi, 3 Business, Accra.
And that was our special Friday feature on the prospects of sunflower, ending Business Daily with me, Bismark Awusah. For more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for